friends, welcome back to the Create Your Shape podcast. My type A people can relate to using data-driven motivation. And if you're like, wait, what is that? In this episode, it's definitely for you. And quick heads up and announcement, if you are someone who does think of themselves as being type A and data-driven, and you are someone who lifts weights and wants to build muscle, decrease body fat, and really understand this science and strategy behind it to not only be able to implement and change your body composition, but also learn it, understand it, and be empowered to make decisions and embed it into your routine for the long term, then Create Your Shape, my 4-month nutrition coaching program, is likely a good fit for you, and it is currently open for enrollment. So we are now enrolling, if you're listening to this live, for the March class. This program is designed specifically for this person in mind. So not only the strategy that we implement, but all of the examples, all of the coaching, all of the protocols are really considering this person. I know this used to be me, and I know there are millions out there who need nutrition support, but need it for who they are. They don't need vague guidance, but they also aren't a 20-year-old male bodybuilder. That is exactly who this program helps and who I coach within Create Your Shape. You can learn more and get signed up now at the link in my show notes, or go to jennythenutritionist.com/create-your-shape. All right, let's get into data-driven motivation. So every Sunday, Erin and I have been going on cardio dates where we go to the gym and we do bike sprints, and they're kind of fun. I like that I'm getting cardiovascular health benefits and I like to push myself, but I was getting to this point where it just felt like too vague for me to just push myself for just health. And I could go all out. I could push myself hard and die in these sprints for 20 minutes, and then the rest of my day would be ruined. So I found myself holding back, but then wanting to progress and make sure I'm getting progressive benefits out of it. I found myself being, what's the point here? I found myself desiring a data point or data points where I could measure how hard I needed to go, and it would determine how much progress I was making each week. I always found myself desiring a data point that I could refer to each week to know how to push myself to ensure I was progressing, much like progressive overload training, right? Same thing with lifting. So finding this data-driven motivation is what changed my effort and consistency with training, with this bike sprint example, but definitely with nutrition too. And I have a feeling if you're like me, if you're like the ladies that I coach, then this will be a game changer for you too. So let's dig into it. So I'm going to go through the problems that we run into with examples, and then how to create data-driven motivation for both nutrition and training. So many of the ladies that I work with, and probably like you, if you identify as being goal-oriented, maybe even type A, you run into this problem where you feel like when it comes to training and nutrition, sometimes you lack motivation and you think, I just need to do better. I just need to hit everything better. But really what I found it comes down to, you don't lack discipline. You do not lack, look at your life. That is not something that you're lacking. You don't lack motivation, but your brain is smart. And what it's doing is it's really just questioning, what's the point of this? Why am I doing this? Right? Your brain wants to know and it wants answers, but you don't have those answers. So instead, it's going to think I have other things to be doing. How does this help me reach my goals? And especially that was the case for me. I remember going in on Sundays and being okay, this is a fun date day, but also we could be doing other things for date day. How does this exactly, every move I'm making in here, help me reach my goal if that's what I'm doing it for? So that's what it looked like for me for training, especially this added cardio day it just felt vague, right? I didn't need to do cardio. I was in a phase where I was focused on building muscle. So that was happening with my progressive overload training program. This was just once a week cardio, which I knew for health was important, but again, just questioning how hard I should push myself. And if I just went off how I was feeling, I know that would be all over the map because sometimes I would be tired. Sometimes I would feel more energized. And it just kind of left me I felt like I was playing a game, but there was no rules and no winner or loser, which I'm competitive. So that did not feel great to me. So that's what it looked like for these cardio sessions. For nutrition, and you guys might relate to this too, I would be eating clean, but in my brain, I was thinking okay, what will actually happen if I don't eat clean? If I just have a little bit that's not clean? Or what would actually happen if I ate clean for a while and then stopped, right? What's the point of doing this if I have to do it forever? And can I do it forever? Do I just need to do this forever? Or I remember eating 1,200 calories, and because that's 1,200 calories with the macros. And I remember thinking okay, wait, do I do this forever? Or what should I expect in changes each day? And then what happens if I don't hit my macros? I was lacking what actually was going to be happening. And when it came to eating clean, it felt like I was how does this actually work, right? What are we actually measuring here? And sure, I could say what was clean and not clean, but there are some in the gray areas. But then how did that actually work? Which of course I later found out that it didn't, and I needed specific calories, macros. But anyway, I was confused, right? And when our brains are confused, it's going to be all right, listen, we're not going to do this, or we're going to make decisions that don't align with that long-term goal because we don't really trust or believe or know how or why or when progress would actually be happening. And the reason for this is we were lacking data. We're lacking knowledge. My brain needed to understand how it worked. What do I actually need to do to achieve this goal today, and why, and for how long? And what should I expect? And what would happen if I didn't do any of this? And then from there, I could visualize and really get into each step and each aspect to achieve those goals, and it became way more fun. So let me break this down of examples of what this looked like for my training and for my nutrition, because I have a feeling it overlaps with your goals too. So with the training, I went through this all with progressive overload training too when it came to building muscle. But going back to the example of specifically these Sunday cardio sessions, my goal, or defining a goal, would have been nice, right? And the goal would have been to increase VO2 max for heart health, for functionality in performance. So that would be another great goal to have. And then the data that I would use to increase this could be how many points I was capturing on the bike. So the bike had a point system, so I could have used that, and then within a certain time, the goal be increasing points every week. I could have had a heart rate monitor and tracking my heart rate. I remember Aaron had his watch on, and so he was so excited tracking his heart rate throughout the sessions, and me being oh, I have an Aura, which I love for different reasons, but I remember being oh, that would be really nice to have that data. But I could have got a heart rate monitor too and known which zone I was in for certain amounts of times. So there's probably different ways I could have done it too, but those are just two examples. And then the output that I could have achieved, and again, tracked and it being measurable, would be an increased resting heart rate. So that could have gone over time, could have decreased, which would just know that I was improving my heart and my heart health over time. So if I had all of that information, all of that data, then I could start giving my brain something to really attach to know, okay, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, I can check this. And it's kind of like a domino effect of I do this one thing, it tips off this thing, and then tips off this thing, and I can check all those data points along the way. But then I could also visualize that happening, and then visualize me getting the benefit from that. During the exercise, and when I'm starting to push, right, and when I'm achieving that heart rate, I could visually picture my heart muscle expanding and becoming healthier. I do this now with my training, with my progressive overlay training. I can visually see that happening. And then I could picture me just living longer, right? I could picture me aging with just a higher standard of living. I could also picture me pushing harder on my leg day and not getting out of breath or not being limited by getting out of breath. I could picture me in dance, like being able to push more and not being limited by getting out of breath. Hiking, right? I have a group of friends, they're like, let's go hiking there. And I could already picture myself like wanting to be fit and in shape for that excursion, like just feeling fit. And that alone is motivating. But I couldn't get there without the domino effect behind that, because my brain was like, wait, explain to me. Explain to me how this is going to help, and I want to know the domino effect. Same thing with my nutrition. The goal was how much muscle and how much body fat do I want to gain or lose? Before that, it was just like, oh, let's just be fit, right? There was nothing specific about it, and I just found myself questioning everything, right? Like, why am I doing this? What do I need to do for how long? It just was so vague. But once I nailed down, like, no, this is the shape I want to create. This is how much muscle I want to build. This is how much body fat I want to lose. Those were the first like points in the domino of data. So then from there, I'm like, okay, what data would make me achieve this in the day? So for example, for decreasing body fat, that would be a calorie deficit, right? Okay, how do I achieve the calorie deficit? Well, I need the exact macros to go along with that. All right, we're getting somewhere. So then from there, what would be the output of when I achieve that? Well, if I achieve that every day, again, it's numbers, then what output would it look like every week? And that would be about a pound decrease per week. Okay, great. Now I know the output. So then from there, again, going to the domino, I could tip over that first domino and make decisions in the moment each day, and then that would impact the rest of my week. And then from there, I can start visualizing success. I could visualize what I would feel, how it would feel to be like light and springy. That's when I decrease body fat, that's how it feels to me. You just feel like energetic and like bouncy because you just feel light and tight, right? And then I could visualize what each week would look like in my check-in photos or in my clothes as I decrease a pound each week. I could start to get like excited by that. Then how I'd look in outfits, right? How I would look when I would wear different fits throughout my week, whether it's gym fits or meeting up with friends, and just how I would walk into a room and what that would represent, right? How I'd represent myself when I did that. And I could visualize the lines and curves that would start forming on my body as I decrease that body fat, and I could see more muscle definition. Again, our brains want to know how we actually achieve that. And if we don't feel confident in what we're doing, it's going to be like, we're not wasting time here. We want to be efficient. We want to be effective. So we need to do things that are effective. Okay, so now let's get into what is the process to create data-driven motivation. So here are the main things. First, what am I trying to achieve, and get specific. The next is, what is the science to achieve this? Again, get specific. And then lastly, reverse engineer for the inputs needed to achieve this. Those are really the three main things. Overall, I see so many type A go-getter ladies put out a goal to look like they work out because they are working out. And they think that they just need to get better willpower, just be more disciplined and stick to it more. But look at your life. That is not the case. What is really happening is just a lack of knowledge. We have never been taught this ever. So especially at this level where you are already fit to some degree and you don't need those super vague guidelines. So you don't know what to do next, and you think just doing more of vague things and sticking to vague things longer is what's going to create the change. And then of course it's harder to stick to when your brain's not fully convinced that that's what's going to get you there. So instead, go back to the data, and then you'll be much more motivated when you're focused on data-driven results, data-driven progress, and data in general. Most of you all listening to this likely have the goal of building muscle and decreasing body fat. So I'm going to walk you through how we do this in Create Your Shape, which my program is designed to help ladies do that, just to give you an example of how we create data-driven motivation there, and you can use that as a blueprint. So first, define your goal. So we kick off Create Your Shape with a nutrition seminar, and I give a handful of different examples of what different shapes look like with higher and lower muscle mass and higher and lower body fat percentage. So you can kind of turn the dial up and down to see what do you even envision as success. From there, most of my ladies get DEXA scans. That is optional, but most of them take advantage of this because then we can use that to play around with the DEXA scan model where you input your data and then decide, okay, if I gained X amount of pounds of muscle and decreased X amount of pounds of body fat, how will that change my body fat percentage? And so you get to play around with that data and it will spit out output so you can kind of formulate what that vision would look like, but in terms of data. And then from there, break that up into, okay, what's a long-term goal versus my short-term goal that I'm going to achieve in the next couple of months. So from there, you need to know what is the data that is actually going to help you achieve this. So for building muscle, we have a whole training optimization module, and then we have a call going through to make sure that we're applying the checklist, right? The training optimization checklist to your specific training program. So that could look like the specific exercises that are being done, the amount of sets, the amount of reps, what it looks like in the week to week. Those are all things, all specific data points that you want to make sure are checked off within your program that you're then able to implement from the week to week. Then on the nutrition side, we go over the nutrition strategy. So the nutrition strategy is how to use specific calories and macros, when they would go up, when they would go down, how they're being used to build muscle and then decrease body fat. And then taking that and taking your custom information and applying that specifically to you so you know exactly when would I be hitting certain macros, why would I be doing that? What should I be expecting from that? And how long should I be doing that before adjusting? So that is step 2. Then step 3 is knowing what to expect. So there are 2 different phases within the Create Your Shape program. One is the building muscle phase or the primer phase. I also call this the lifestyle phase. And so from there, we can measure from your dashboard and collect your weekly check-in and collect all these key data points like your photos and your training progressions and your hunger and sleep and your biofeedback to know, okay, are we on track for what we expect during this phase? Same thing with the calorie deficit phase, or when we're focused on decreasing body fat, collecting all of that data to ensure that you are tracking to, most of my ladies might see on average 1 pound per week. It just depends who you are. You might see more than that or less than that, but knowing why would you see more than that or why would you see less than that? And again, applying that data to your plan. Then lastly, it is just having all of this information and having it all mapped out is when you can stop feeling stressed about what do I need to do today and start getting motivated by the plan that's mapped out for you, but being able to visualize that success. So whenever I talk to someone who has these goals, I already think about their success because I see it mapped out based on the data and then what they would look like when they did gain that muscle and decrease the body fat. And then once they have that information, they can then start visualizing that for themselves, but then also why they want that, right? For them, it could be different outfits they want to wear. It could just be how it makes them feel when they're walking and they see the lines and the curves and the shapes in their legs. It could just be of what that represents for them, right? They take care of themselves. They're fit. They are well fed and well fueled. And when they walk into a room or when they walk into the gym, it is well known just based on how their physique represents them. Or maybe it's over summer and they want to wear certain outfits, or they want to wear the crop tops, or they want to work out in the sports bra. That could be what they start visualizing. But instead of it feeling like somebody else or far away, they can now connect the dots based on the data that they know they're going to get there. That is what data-driven motivation is, and it is a complete game changer, especially for ladies like you all who are listening to this. for ladies that I work with, the only thing that is missing is just the knowledge in that data behind it to be able to be empowered and make decisions. If you want to look like you work out and you do work out, there should be no reason, especially if you are dabbling, if you are trying to achieve this, it is likely that you've just never been taught how to do it, and you don't have the knowledge that provides the data driven information to achieve this, especially when it comes to then being consistent with that plan. If that is you and you want to learn this, then I invite you to join us in Create Your Shape, which is currently open for enrollment for the March class, where you can learn more. JennyTheNutritionist.com/create-your-shape. I hope you enjoyed this and start thinking more from a data perspective, and I'll see you next week on the Create Your Shape podcast.